Hello and welcome to episode 12, Realising Your Image Ideas of the 1/160th of a second photography podcast. So I'm joined today by Ben. Ben, just for those listeners who don't really know you and what you do, could you just quickly explain a bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Ben. I'm a photographer and videographer, and I've been doing that for around 10 years. And in my spare time, I like to edit photos as well.
Fantastic. So we're talking today about realising your image ideas because you can build an image quite easily with digital photography. I tend to shoot and really work on portrait images rather than a lot of composites. But there'll be occasions when I have an idea I want to do or a location I want to use or something I want to convey. But you do an awful lot of composites and fancy images, don't you, Ben?
Yes, I do.
And so where do your ideas come from for those images? How do you get inspiration to do those images?
It comes from a variety of places, really. I watch a lot of anime, and a few ideas come from that, especially the more high-tech, like cyberpunk ones. Also from films, from books, computer games. I'm a big gamer, and just random images, random thoughts I get. I think that'd be a good idea.
I must admit, things just pop into my head when I'm, say, brushing my teeth. I'll think, oh, that would look good if it was like this person, all blue background and this type of lights. But I guess I'm probably quite influenced by other images I see. I just don't necessarily realise that's the case.
Yeah, probably as well for me. I mean, most likely on a subconscious level. You see an image and you think, oh, I like that. And then when it comes to coming up for ideas for your next shoot, you've got that in your mind of what you want to try and do.
I would definitely say I mimic a lot of styles, but I think it's almost impossible now to be wholly original with everything that's out there.
Guarantee someone somewhere will have done what you've done at some point. Doesn't mean that you should not attempt to do it.
And I think I do quite a lot of street photography or attempt to. And I always give it the style of your typical street photography. It's always quite high contrast, black and white. But in terms of realising the image, there's nothing in my head already because it's so spontaneous, street photography. You can't get someone to do what you want. You're sort of documenting, really. So when I work on street photography, I have no idea what it's going to be like, and due to the way you sort of take the images, you take a chance. You might get a good image, you might not get a good image. You don't know really till you get home.
Well, especially with street photography, there's so many variables. Even the weather can be something, or depending where you are, even the crowd. As soon as someone sees a camera, then they start playing up. And if like you're in London, or let's say I've been in Camden and seen quite a lot of photographers there because of how colourful and bright it is. It's depending on the crowd as well. You want to get a good shot of the model, but you're going to get people in the shot, so you have to plan for that as well.
Very much. And in terms of ideas, where they come from, I'll probably see something and think, that's good, yeah, I'll try that. So I've used smoke before with gels.
Yep.
Because without smoke in the background, you don't really get any colour in the background. You get just colour on the person or the model. So I've used smoke, but I can guarantee I didn't come up with that. I would have seen an image somewhere with smoke in the background. I thought, I can do that. Oh, the coloured background lights. I can do that. So I suppose most of my inspiration comes from things I've already seen, sadly. But I do occasionally have a sort of flash of inspiration and try and do it. But translating my idea while I'm brushing my teeth into an image is actually quite hard. And no doubt you've got that. I've got to find someone to be my model, do the image with. I've got to explain to them what I'm doing, which is probably quite difficult. It's probably the biggest difficulty, actually, explaining to someone what you want to achieve. And then I've got to translate it through the shoot and then through the editing to get what I want. So how do you translate your ideas into the final image?
Yeah, as you say, it is difficult to translate that to like the model. With my work, because the majority of it is heavily photoshopped, like say fantasy and composite images, it is very different to say street photography or portrait, where you can just show them the image on the camera and say that's roughly what it's going to look like at the finished product. With mine, it's a model in front of a green screen. I'm like, right, you've got to imagine that you've got this, and you've got, so say you've got horns and you've got fire coming out of this part, and or there's going to be a whole room built behind you with all this going on, and a stack of monitors, and there's going to be light coming from here, or holograms all around.
So let's focus on the horns. With things like horns, I mean, you've shown me some of your work today before we started recording, and I've seen you do the horns in Photoshop. Is it easier to do it in Photoshop, or is it easier to do it practically, and then the model can understand what's on their head?
It would probably be easier to do it practically, but for time and money, I just did it in Photoshop. The photos was very last minute, and if I was to do it practically, I'd have to source the horns and then get because I'm not good with makeup and practical effects, so I'd then have to get a hair and makeup artist in and pay them for it. Whereas doing it in Photoshop, you just had the model come round, stand in front of a green screen and pose, and then just do everything digitally.
I suppose to do things practically does require more planning. I've done practical things and edited them later, and I've got a really good result, whereas I would have been forever editing to do it in software, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would like to do things more practically, but certain things just more time consuming, more costly. It's easier to just take an image and put it in Photoshop.
And when you get to your final image, does it live up to your expectations?
Sometimes, yeah. I'm my harshest critic. Sometimes I've even surpassed my own expectations. One shoot, I had an image of exactly how I wanted it to do, and then when it came to editing it, I spent hours making the image look a certain way, and then just scrapped it and went with something completely different, and then that new image, I think, is one of the best things I've ever done.
See, I think in many ways I'm lucky. So I might go to a location with a model, and I might take 200 shots, and I've got an idea of what I want to achieve beforehand, but I'm taking 200 shots, and it might be the shots I really wanted weren't very good, but I caught something. We did something around the corner that was better, or a different location, and that's a fantastic image. I suppose with you shooting it to green screen, you're more limited in your outcome, aren't you? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I am. Like you say, you go out on location, you see something spur of the moment, you think, oh, that'd be good. Whereas with what I do, you have to know exactly what it is that you're wanting to do, or have a good idea of what it is you're wanting to do before the image evolves in Photoshop. That is how to portray that across to the subject you're taking the photo of. It can be very difficult, especially if they've not really modelled before, like the one I showed you with the horns. She wasn't a model, and so me trying to tell her about something, an idea which doesn't technically exist yet, which I can't show her, and she's not got much modelling experience to portray what doesn't exist.
So with that, is it worth taking a picture and doing maybe 5 minutes of editing to say, yeah, this is what I'm trying to achieve, or do you not do it that way?
I don't do it that way. Mostly I would probably do a sketch of the idea. As I say, when editing, you have an idea of the image that you want, but as you're going along, the images can change from time to time. I'd say it can evolve. There's some of the ones I do, I wouldn't be able to do a 5-minute edit to get an example. Unfortunately, I'd love to be better and be able to just knock things out in 5 minutes, but unfortunately I'm not at that level yet. And
I think, talking about conveying to someone what you're trying to achieve is really difficult. So things that help for that are mood boards. So that's we've talked about sort of getting inspiration from places, other images. You might put together a series of images and say, I'm going for this type of thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to go for this thing exactly, but just to convey the mood of what you're trying to achieve. I'm trying to achieve this look with this colour, but you're never tied down too much with a mood board. It's just to help the other person visualise what you're trying to do, which is, I think, the biggest challenge, in all honesty.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
When you're doing photography with someone, particularly me, it's probably more difficult for you. Take a few images and show them on the back of the screen, say, this is what I'm looking for, but can you stand this way, or can you see the problem with this image? Your hand doesn't look real because it looks like it's coming out of your belly because of the way you're standing. So can you stand this way, and you sort of, as you go through the shoot, things progress and it gets better.
Yeah.
I imagine it's really difficult shooting against a green screen, and difficult to do that.
It can be. One picture I did was just with a friend. I don't know if you've seen it, the one with the Space Jesus.
Yeah, I have seen that one. Yeah,
They actually nailed that shot, first photo I took. So that was more luck than anything. But yeah, with some shots, it's so difficult to get them to imagine what I can imagine, because obviously I can tell you something and describe it the best I can, and your idea in your head will be completely different to what I've got.
Yeah.
And so, like I say, even just a hand in the wrong place, and then the fingers in the wrong place, and you've got to try and even just minute details like that, getting everything perfect for something which in my head might be a month away from completion.
And when you share your images, what's the response of the other party when they see the final image?
I've not had any disappointment. Everyone's loved them, from the friends who I've done pictures of and edited to models. They love it, because it's something so different. It's not just like fashion photography or street photography where the results are pretty much instantaneous. It's a lot more. I'm not trying to disrespect what you do at all in any way, but like it's more of a like digital art than a photograph, more like almost like a digital painting. No,
I completely agree. I might take an image and I will edit it, and I may Photoshop it to make it look better, but I'm not reconstructing it, I'm tweaking it.
Yeah.
Whereas you're building it from scratch, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've had feedback has always been overwhelmingly positive. I think people are unrealistic about what editing can do. So I've had people say to me, I don't like my face there. Can you fix that and make me smile? Well, no, I can't. But you had the power at that time to make yourself smile.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it. I can whiten your teeth if I really wanted to. But no, I can't change the physics of that environment. You're probably going to tell me you could make someone smile in Photoshop.
Yeah. Even just to go to the liquify option, you can go onto the face mesh and add a smile in.
Really?
Yeah. It looks, if you go too far, it does look a bit Joker-ish. Or you could just get a picture of someone else's smile and slap that on them and make it look...
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
But just just smile when I'm taking your photo.
Yeah. Or the other trick is catch them unaware. So just say you're doing a test shot, take the photo, and they won't be on guard then, and they'll probably be smiling anyway. Or tell some legendary funny jokes.
Do you have any examples?
They're so spontaneous. I don't have any. I don't have any routine jokes that I tell people. It's just spontaneous hilarity, I think, that might do that. So we've talked about realising your image ideas, and it sounds like we both managed to realise the images we have in our head, which is good. And it sounds like the people we work with are always quite happy with them. So I think it's probably a good time to finish this episode.
Yeah.
So you've been listening to the 1/160th of a second photography podcast, episode 12, Realising Your Image Ideas. Do go back and check out our other episodes, because we have lots. We're at episode 12, and there's probably a future episode as well. So do listen to our other podcasts, and do let me know what you think by leaving a comment here or going over to our Facebook page and leaving a comment there. Thank you. Goodbye.